There's a pattern that is repeated 4 times in the last 100 years of American economic history, and every single time it repeats, an unusually large number of completely ordinary people, not hedge fund managers, not Silicon Valley insiders, not the already wealthy, quietly become millionaires while the rest of the country stands still. Most people alive today don't remember it happening. Most people watching this video don't even know there's a name for it. But here's the part that should make you sit up. The pattern is happening again, right now, in 2026. The economic conditions that produced new millionaire classes in 1900, in 1950, in 1995, and that almost everyone missed in real time, are once again present. And just like in every previous cycle, the vast majority of people are going to look back in 15 years and wonder how they didn't see it while it was unfolding directly in front of them. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what shift is happening, what the historical data actually says about moments like this one, the 3 layers where ordinary people built generational wealth during prior cycles, and the specific decisions you can make starting today if you don't want to be on the wrong side of the next wave. I want to be direct with you up front. This is not a video promising you anything. There is no guaranteed path to wealth, and anyone who promises one is lying. There is real risk involved in everything we're about to discuss. But there is also a real, measurable, documented pattern in economic history that's pointing at something genuinely worth understanding right now. And whether you act on it or not, you deserve to at least know that it's happening. My name is Andy, and I spend way too much time pulling apart the moments when economic history quietly tilts beneath everyone's feet, and what separates the people who notice from the people who don't. If that's the kind of analysis you want, hit subscribe. That's what Andy Explains Money is here for. Let me start with the problem. Because the problem isn't that people don't have access to these moments. The problem is that almost nobody recognizes them in real time. Every single time a major economic shift happens, the majority of people only find out it was a big deal after it has completely played out. They look back 10 or 15 years later, watch a documentary, read an article, hear a podcast, and they say the same exact sentence. I should have done something. But when the shift was actually happening, when it was sitting directly in front of them, on the news, in their kids' lives, in the products around them, they either didn't recognize it, didn't believe it, or just didn't act. Think about the early 1990s. The internet was just getting started. In 1993, most people genuinely did not know what a website was. Most workplaces didn't have one. Most people had never sent an email. The whole concept seemed nerdy and probably temporary. By 1999, just 6 years later, Amazon was worth billions of dollars. Microsoft had quietly minted thousands of millionaires out of its early employees. People who invested in companies like Dell, Cisco, or Intel in the early 1990s saw returns of 10,000% or more in some cases. According to data from the Federal Reserve, American household net worth increased by roughly $20 trillion between 1990 and 2000. A significant chunk of that growth was tied directly to people who got involved early in the technology boom. But here's the part that should sting. The majority of people did not get in early. They got in late, after prices had already exploded. Many of them piled in right before the dot-com crash in 2000, when sentiment was at its peak euphoria. They lost serious money. Big money. They watched the wealth being created from the sidelines for years, finally jumped in at the worst possible moment, and walked away thinking the entire opportunity had been a scam. Then it happened again. In the early 2000s, social media was rising. Facebook launched in 2004 as a toy for college students. Most adults thought it was a joke. They were wrong. By 2012, Facebook went public with a $104 billion valuation. The people who understood what was happening early, investors, entrepreneurs, early employees, even some advertising-savvy small business owners, made life-changing money. Most ordinary people were on the sidelines, watching, waiting for the trend to be obvious enough to act on. By the time it was obvious, it was over. And now here we are, in 2026. The shift starting right now is larger than the internet was in 1993. It is larger than social media was in 2004. And I'm not saying that as opinion. I'm saying that based on what the data is actually showing. Let me show you what's happening. Economists are calling the current moment the fifth industrial revolution. The first four were steam power, electricity, computers, and the internet. Each one of those revolutions created an entirely new class of wealthy people. Ordinary humans, completely average in every other respect, became millionaires and sometimes billionaires because they understood what was changing and positioned themselves ahead of it. Not after it, ahead of it. The fifth industrial revolution is the merging of artificial intelligence with human work and everyday life. But it isn't just AI as a single technology. It's AI combined with automation, combined with an entirely new physical and digital infrastructure being built underneath it. Data centers, semiconductor chips, robotics, cloud computing, and cybersecurity systems protecting all of the above. According to research from the McKinsey Global Institute, AI and automation could generate between $6.1 and $7.9 trillion in additional global economic value every single year. That is more wealth being created annually than the entire GDP of Japan. And that wealth doesn't just flow into the obvious tech companies. It creates ripple effects across every major industry on Earth. Healthcare, finance, manufacturing, real estate, retail, logistics. Every sector gets restructured. But here's the most important thing to understand about this revolution. The thing that makes it fundamentally different from every previous one. Every technology shift has moved faster than the one before it. And this one is moving faster than anything we've ever measured. Let me give you the timeline. In 1999, Netflix took roughly 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. In 2004, Facebook hit 1 million users in 10 months. Instagram in 2010 reached 1 million users in 2.5 months. When ChatGPT launched in late 2022, it crossed 1 million users in 5 days. 5 days. That speed of adoption matters for one massive reason. The window of opportunity for early movers is shorter than it has ever been. In the 1990s, people had nearly a decade to position themselves in internet companies before the mainstream rush arrived. With AI, that window might be 2 or 3 years, maybe even less. The cycle is compressing as the technology adopts faster. According to a 2024 report from the World Economic Forum, by 2027, 75% of companies worldwide plan to adopt some form of AI technology. Right now, as of early 2026, about 56% of American businesses have started using some form of AI in their operations, which means 44% of American businesses have not. That 44% gap is where a meaningful amount of opportunity is currently living. Not tomorrow, not in 2030, right now. And there is a deadline. By 2030, most economists and tech researchers agree that AI integration into the workforce will be widespread and completely normalized. The early mover advantage that exists in this current window will largely be gone by then. So we are looking at roughly 4 years to understand what's happening and decide whether you want to position yourself ahead of it or get left behind like most people did in 1993 and again in 2004. Now I want to break down how this shift actually creates wealth opportunities, because it is not just about investing in AI companies. That is the surface layer, and frankly, it's the most volatile and least reliable way to participate. There are 3 distinct layers where ordinary people can engage with this shift, and the third one is the most important. Layer 1 is the infrastructure layer. Every single time a major economic shift happens, the people who build the roads that everyone else drives on get rich, regardless of who ends up doing the driving. In the gold rush of the 1840s, the people selling shovels made more money on average than the people actually digging for gold. When the internet was growing in the 1990s, companies that built the cables, the routers, and the servers, the actual physical backbone of the internet, made fortunes regardless of which websites survived or failed. Today, the backbone of the AI revolution is made up of four specific things. First, semiconductors. These are the chips inside every device that runs AI. Without them, nothing in this revolution functions. The global semiconductor market was valued at roughly $527 billion in 2023, according to the Semiconductor Industry Association. It's projected to grow past $1 trillion by 2030. Companies in this space are the shovel sellers of the AI era. Whether the eventual winning AI products come from OpenAI, Google, Meta, Anthropic, or some startup nobody has heard of yet, every single one of them is running on chips. Second, data centers. Every time someone uses an AI tool, every prompt, every generated image, every query, that information has to travel to a physical building somewhere that stores and processes it. The demand for data center capacity is exploding. According to research firm JLL, U.S. data center capacity needs to more than double by 2030 just to meet projected demand. That is an enormous physical infrastructure build-out happening right now, with real estate, electricity contracts, cooling systems, and construction crews involved. Third, cloud computing. Cloud is the digital highway that connects users to AI tools, data centers, and everything else. The global cloud computing market was estimated at around $676 billion in 2024 and is growing rapidly. More AI usage always means more cloud usage. The two are mathematically inseparable. Fourth, cybersecurity. As more businesses and governments move sensitive information into AI systems, the need to protect that data grows at the exact same rate. According to Cybersecurity Ventures, global cybercrime costs are expected to reach $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. The companies building defenses against that wave are going to benefit from that spending, whether they pick the winning AI tools or not. These four areas, semiconductors, data centers, cloud computing, and cybersecurity, are the infrastructure of the AI era. And here's the elegant part. You don't have to correctly pick which AI company is going to win the race to benefit from them. If one AI company beats another, the data centers, the chips, the cloud, and the security still get used. The infrastructure wins regardless of which company at the top wins. This is why infrastructure plays have historically been one of the strongest ways for ordinary investors to participate in technology revolutions without needing to be visionaries about specific products. Layer 2 is the business opportunity layer. Every major economic shift in history has created new businesses, destroyed old businesses, and completely transformed existing ones. The internet killed Blockbuster and created Netflix. It killed Tower Records and created Spotify. It killed travel agencies and created Expedia and Airbnb. It didn't just create new companies, it forced old companies to either adapt or die. There was no neutral middle ground. The same thing is happening right now with AI, but the timeline is compressed dramatically. Let me give you a concrete example. A few years ago, running a customer service team for a mid-sized company might cost $500,000 a year in salaries, benefits, software licenses, and overhead. Today, companies are using AI agents to handle 80 to 90% of customer service requests at a small fraction of that cost. The businesses that figured this out first now have a massive structural cost advantage over their competitors. The ones that didn't figure it out are getting left behind or going out of business entirely. This creates two types of opportunity for ordinary people, depending on where you currently sit. If you're a business owner, using AI to cut costs and improve efficiency could be the difference between growing and shrinking over the next 5 years. Most small business owners I talk to are still operating exactly the way they were in 2019, paying for software, processes, and human labor that AI tools can now replicate at a small fraction of the cost. The first wave of business owners to integrate AI tools properly are quietly capturing the same kind of cost advantage that the first wave of internet-savvy businesses captured in 1998. If you're not a business owner yet, there is currently an enormous demand for people who can help other businesses understand and implement AI tools. Companies are willing to pay consultants, agencies, and freelancers real money, sometimes thousands of dollars per month, just to help them use tools that already exist for free or for very low cost. That demand is a direct result of the gap I mentioned earlier. 44% of American businesses haven't started using AI yet, and most of the 56% that have are using it very superficially. Think about it like this. If you could help just 5 small businesses save 5 hours of work per week through AI automation, and they paid you $1,000 a month each for that service, that's $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year, from a skill that exists right now and can be learned in a matter of months by anyone willing to invest the time. This is not theoretical. This is happening right now in every American city with people who started learning AI tools 18 months ago. The internet created this exact same opportunity in the late 1990s. Small consulting practices popped up everywhere to help businesses build their first websites. Most of those consultants weren't computer scientists. They just understood the technology slightly better than the small business owners around them, and they were willing to charge for that knowledge gap. Layer 3 is the career and income opportunity layer. This is for people who aren't investors and aren't looking to start a business. They have a job. They like their job. They just want to know, how does any of this affect me directly? Here's the honest truth I want to give you, because I'd rather you hear it from me than from a layoff notice. In the short term, AI is not going to replace most workers, but it is going to replace workers who don't understand AI. The distinction is critical. The person sitting next to you at work who learns how to use these tools effectively is going to get more done in less time. They're going to be more valuable to your employer than you are. And over the next 3 to 5 years, that gap is going to show up in pay raises, promotions, and job security. They will be the person your boss protects during a budget cut. You will be the person who's harder to justify keeping if your output looks identical to theirs while costing the same. A 2023 study published by MIT and Harvard economists found that workers who used AI assistants for their tasks completed their work 40% faster and with significantly higher quality scores than workers who didn't. That's not a marginal difference. That's the equivalent of getting 2 extra workdays of productivity added to your week for free, purely from learning a tool that's available right now. But here's the thing most people get wrong about moments like this, and this might be the most important point in the entire video. The people who made the most money during the internet boom were not necessarily the ones who started the biggest companies. A huge percentage of them were ordinary people who just understood early what was changing and made a deliberate decision to position themselves before the mainstream caught on. There's a woman named Ann Scheiber who became quietly legendary in financial circles after her death. She was a regular IRS auditor. She wasn't rich. She wasn't connected to any insider network. She invested her modest savings, about $5,000, in stocks she believed in. She held them through every market crash, every panic, every news cycle telling her to sell. She died in 1995 and left $22 million to charity. She wasn't a genius. She wasn't a Wall Street insider. She just understood something fundamental about positioning herself ahead of economic growth and holding on through the volatility. Now, I'm not telling you that story to suggest that simply investing will make you a millionaire. That's not what this is. Investing carries real risk. You can lose money. Markets crash. Companies fail. Anyone telling you there's a guaranteed path to wealth is selling you something you shouldn't buy. What I'm telling you is that every generation gets a handful of moments when the economic landscape genuinely shifts in a major way. People who understand the shift and position themselves early tend to benefit disproportionately. People who wait until the shift is obvious, until everyone is talking about it on the news, until prices have already run up dramatically, until your uncle at Thanksgiving is asking what stocks to buy, tend to miss it entirely. Or worse, they get in at the absolute top and lose money when the market eventually corrects. Based on every measurable indicator, speed of adoption, government investment, corporate spending, job market shifts, Infrastructure build-out. The AI revolution is currently somewhere around where the internet was in 1994 or 1995. Before the big run, before the mainstream wave. Still early enough that most people are dismissive about it. Late enough that the underlying foundation is genuinely in place. The current administration in the United States has publicly committed to making the country the global leader in AI. Federal money is flowing into the space at a scale we haven't seen since the original space race. When government money moves into a sector alongside massive private investment, historically, that's a strong signal of significant economic activity coming. Not a guarantee of returns, but a measurable wave of activity and opportunity. The question you have to actually ask yourself, sitting where you are right now in 2026, is straightforward. Are you going to be the person who looked back in 2036 and said, "I understood what was happening, and I did something about it"? Or are you going to be the person who watched it happen, intended to act, and never quite did? Both of those people are going to exist. The only thing in question is which one of them is going to be you. Let me pull this together with something concrete, because I want you to leave this video with a clear sense of what to actually do. The shift happening right now is real. It is measurable. It is backed by hard data from credible institutions. We are in the early stages of the fifth industrial revolution, the merging of AI, automation, and technology into everyday work and life. Every major shift like this in history has created a window of opportunity for ordinary people who understood it early. That window, based on current adoption rates, is probably somewhere between 2 and 5 years wide. After that, the opportunities will still exist, but the early mover advantage, the ability to get in before everyone else realizes what's happening, will be largely gone. Just like it was for the internet after 2001 and for social media after about 2017. There are 3 practical ways to engage with this shift, depending on where you are right now in your life. If you are an investor, look beyond the obvious AI names. The headline-grabbing companies are already priced for perfection, and the volatility in those names is genuinely brutal. Infrastructure plays, semiconductors, data centers, cloud computing providers, cybersecurity firms have historically been stronger long-term positions during technology build-outs because they benefit regardless of which specific consumer-facing company wins the race. As always, diversify your investments, do your own research, and never invest money you can't afford to lose. None of this is a guarantee. All of it carries risk. But understanding the infrastructure layer puts you in the position the railroad investors occupied during the industrial age, collecting fees from whoever ends up using the rails, no matter who that turns out to be. If you're entrepreneurial or have a skill you can sell, there is currently a very large market of businesses that need help understanding and implementing AI tools. You don't have to be a developer or a data scientist. You don't need to write code. You just need to know more than the average business owner, which, in this moment, is a remarkably low bar. The 44% of American businesses that haven't started using AI yet are an addressable market. You don't need to capture all of them. You just need to capture a handful, charge them reasonable money for real-time savings, and you have a viable income stream from a skill that didn't exist 3 years ago. If you have a job and you just want to protect and grow your income, start learning these tools right now. Not because your boss told you to. Not because there's some external pressure to, because the person in your workplace who figures this out first is going to be the most valuable person in the room. That person could be you. The shift toward AI-augmented workers is not a question of if, it's a question of when. The when is happening right now, and the difference between being early and being late is going to translate directly into your pay, your title, and your job security over the next decade. Here's the final thing I want you to take with you. The last time a shift like this started, ordinary people became millionaires. Not because they were smarter than everyone else, not because they had inside information, not because they got lucky, because they understood what was happening and they didn't sit on the sidelines waiting for the picture to become clearer. By the time the picture is clear, the opportunity is gone. That's how every previous cycle has played out, without exception. The pattern doesn't care whether you participate or not. Whether you act on this video or close it and forget about it, The fifth industrial revolution is going to happen. AI is going to integrate into the workforce. The infrastructure is going to be built. The new businesses are going to emerge. The old businesses are going to either adapt or disappear. The economic value McKinsey is projecting is going to get captured by somebody. The only question is whether some of that capture happens in your direction or whether it happens entirely past you. There's a strange psychological pattern that happens during moments like this one. The earliest signs of a major shift always look unimpressive. The internet in 1993 looked like a hobby. Social media in 2004 looked like a fad. AI in 2026 looks, to a lot of people, like an overhyped novelty that produces glitchy images and slightly creepy chatbots. Every previous wave looked like that at the start. That's not a coincidence. That's how transformative shifts always present themselves before they actually transform anything. By the time they look impressive, the early window has already closed. You can dismiss this. That's completely valid. You can decide that the data is overstated, the timing is wrong, the hype is excessive. You won't be alone in that conclusion. Plenty of intelligent people made that exact dismissal in 1993, in 2004, and in 2010. Most of them are now the people sending sentences like, "I should have done something," to their children. Or you can take 15 minutes a week and start learning. Read about what's happening. Try the tools. Understand the basics. Find one specific way to apply it to your current job, your business, or your investments. You don't need to bet your savings on speculative AI stocks. You don't need to quit your job and start an AI consulting firm. You just need to stop being the person who watches the wave pass by while telling themselves it isn't really a wave. The cycle is older than any of us. It will run again after this one, but this one is the only one you have direct access to in this lifetime. The next one will belong to your kids and their kids. This is your turn at this particular table. The history is consistent. The data is clear. The window is open right now. Whether you walk through it is, finally, up to you.